There are two types of people in every profession. One who is struggling and one who is exploit.
On the comics is to
Power.
empower and give them the strength to question and challenge the authorities. You can't change the world sometimes. You can just change a few things for yourself. For example, like the fact this whole debate about unpaid internship, right? I mean, you cannot go out and catch every architect who's not paying their interns, but you can become an architect who doesn't do that.
Initially, we did not show our faces because we sometimes are shy. People used to ask us, "Are you guys from Europe?" We are like, "Is India so bad at art, creativity?"
Even in India, for that matter, people first is Bangalore, which is
Yeah.
very interesting. I mean, think Bombay.
From Nasik, she's from Kota. Both the cities are two-tier cities with very good.
It allows us to be slow and read the pace that we.
Hi guys, welcome to the podcast. Hi Anuj, hi Shreya, how are you doing?
Yeah, we are good. We have been traveling a lot, and it's the final leg of our traveling. So
Yeah.
Where are you guys talking from today?
We're talking from Pune.
Okay, all right. I think you were in Jaisalmer, if I'm not wrong, a while back.
We were, I think, all over the place. But yeah, we were in Jaisalmer for a very, very long time.
Okay.
For a workshop that we've been doing for the last 3 years. It's part of a series that we do in Rajasthan.
Oh,
I mean, we were there for, I think, almost 15 days.
18 days.
Yeah.
wow. And I nice. So almost all the architecture community know about your work, who you guys are. Leewardus is a big name. Today's premise of the podcast is for a young architecture graduate exploring a similar field. How viable this field is, what kind of challenges you have faced, and how can they build a business. We can talk about that through the entire episode. But before we jump into those questions, I'd like to ask you guys, what's the story behind Leewardus and why the name Leewardus? I think it's because of the windward and leeward side.
Yeah, I think levered is the story. I mean, it's right. First of all, we are not very good with words. One of our friends, he was my roommate, suggested that his partner, Shruti, suggested some names because maybe she was good at it and we were not. Said, let's make it try. Why
Yeah, I
don't you
mean,
try?
because our other page where I mean, we are trying to put comics about cities called
It's called
Urbanist Comics.
I feel Urbanist Comics is better because it's very direct. But we fell into the trap of my friend's partner. She said, "Why don't you Urbanist?" And
Thanks
I
to
was like, "Thanks to Shruti." I asked, "What does it mean?" She said, "It's the leeward side of the hill." So it started, but eventually we started discussing that the hill has two sides, definitely. And I mean, me also being from a city where there are a lot of hills, Maharashtra, I come from Nasik. So you could see a lot of hills where one side, which is the windward side, is very green and lush because it has a lot of rain and sun. And the other side does not have all of those. So it is a very not too good, not a very good looking side. Or I would say it's barren. It does not have green and but it is important. I mean, if you look at geography, this is both the sides have
it's
a
part of an ecosystem.
ecosystem, right? Both are equally important. It's just that that side people don't know much and it's just not too good to look at. So we thought, thinking about this idea of, yeah, actually all of us being architects and designers, we are doing a lot for the hill. I mean, the city or everything, but people don't know we are on the leeward side. Also, trying to show what happens at the back end. There are many metaphors to it, which we slowly developed with that idea of leeward side. There's a lot of work which happens at the back end, but we only try to look at the pretty picture. We talk about the people who are doing the work at the back, city planners to urban design. I also have a master's in urban design to understand that, okay, cities are important. Architecture is also part of
And
the
it's
city.
interesting, we found a hill in the city. I mean, it's just like one hill, which is there. One side of it is, we can only see it when it's rainy season because it gets really green. So one side of it has, a lot of trees. It's green, and the other side is barren.
And if you also look at the other hills around, all of them have the same pattern of windward and leeward. So it's sort of stuck with us. Although it is weird, it is difficult to pronounce. People cannot understand the syllable of
Our
L
checks get delayed
delayed
because of
because the
that.
S is missing at the end, or the list is. So when I say it very fast, leeward is, you don't know if it is with a D or with a B or with a L. There's a
I mean, in architecture industry, everyone would get this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, like I said, the outside it is related to the windward, but everyone who is not from the industry would not understand. But I think that's the entire point.
And it
Yeah,
takes
I
time.
mean-
That is also what we believe in. That takes time. Okay, maybe for the first 2, 3, 4 years, people did not get the name and did not understand the work. But the name represents the idea that you can
Yeah.
really,
What's not a common notion.
yeah, and you can slowly start working on it, and people will recognize the weirdness of the name. That, oh, these are those weird name people or who make comics. So that is also
So
a
the
resource.
first step to a successful business is actually have a very confusing name.
Which people and but that also happens. You
No, I mean I'm
when you
I'm
get
kidding.
yeah,
I'm kidding.
Yeah, I understand.
I mean, to be very honest, I mean, we feel quite the opposite. We feel that if the name is not there, it's okay. Sometimes you really have to start doing things because sometimes people do use it like a formula that, you know, okay, these are the steps to having a successful business or a setup, you know, that you have to have a very good name, you have to have a very good office, etc. Blah, blah, blah. But sometimes
it's all about the work.
Yeah. I mean,
And people will get used to the name.
Yeah.
So we always have this approach of working, and then name can be, it could have been anything.
Yeah.
We can create a different story and create a new name. It was all about working on what we believe in for a long time so that this name becomes a household name.
How many years it has been now?
I mean, really, it is 8. I mean 7. Legally, I would say 8. And informally, we started when we were like just after college, you know, like you want to draw. And so there are two, the legality of the company and then the informality that we will start making about cities and etc. through blogs. Legal is 2017. Legally trying to make it full time and not do anything else and just focus on it. Everything starts normally, right? You cannot jump into.
Yeah.
There was no plan of making into like what are the steps, then make it legal, etc. It was all about trying to question.
Organic.
The main idea was to question what we are doing as architects or what people don't understand about architecture. So it was always about questioning, and eventually it also trickled down into cities because we eventually understood architecture is part of the city.
Standard.
So
Yeah.
it's always been a slow process for us. It has been a very slow process.
But you were also figuring out things, right? I mean, you actually had to create a niche of your idea, right? Of your work. It's not a traditional practice. And that's why we are even having this podcast.
In fact,
So,
we did not even have case studies, to be very honest.
huh.
The only case studies we had were these American webcomic artists who we used to follow. And of course, we also have case studies of our childhood comics from Chacha Chaudhary to Tickle and all of those. But when we wanted to make it full time or think about doing it for the rest of your life, we started looking at case studies of who are these people who are doing it and making it into a business. So I think for us, it was these few people in 2016, 17, like Oatmeal. Oatmeal is a comic, I mean, a group. It's a comic artist by the name of Matthew Inman. He used to make web comics about daily life, about his dogs or cats. So, and the art style was very easy to draw, I would say, for us. So we thought, oh, okay, this can be done by us also. So why are we making comics about architecture or cities? The case studies were, and the only mode of business for them was to make a comic and then sell merchandise. I mean, if we're talking about 2015, 16, that era. Yes. So I would say that the case studies were almost next. I mean, there was zero case study. And in India, of course, there are, forget case studies. People used to ask us that, okay, so when do you have time to do your architecture practice? And then we're like, we don't do architecture practice. It's hard for people to understand that
And
this is only to be done as a hobby. So that also was like, why can't this be a full time? You always have
Hmm.
Why can't we make this full time? And that's why, because of no case studies, because of no mentors, yes, there were some mentors, but what can they do? They can just motivate you. That's it. So
Hmm.
always a slow process to figure out every year that how
Hmm.
we can evolve and how this can be eventually a business or something.
Are you guys right now? What all do you do now when you are in 2025?
Uh,
You're still making comics. So
yeah,
that's
of course.
Obviously, we see
I
that.
think the core is storytelling. I mean, we have understood that it is how we narrate and write a good story which connects to people online and offline. Long story short, we are dealing with the tool of storytelling as a business model, which is used by government authorities around India who use our communication method to communicate about city development, planning, rules and regulations, by all these development regulations and whatever they want to talk about with the common people, they are using that. We collaborate with a lot of corporates and NGOs who are working on cities with a lot of data.
Hmm.
We
It's so.
to use their complex and it is important information which needs to come out in public. We are using that to create graphic novels, short stories, animations, etc., which they use to disseminate their information. To also working with any entity which wants to use our method, like the maps. How does maps come into our? For us, maps is also a way of telling a story about that area. We use our methods to create different maps for different. That can be IIM Ahmedabad, can be Kolkata, New Town. We also made a map for New Town, Kolkata, the newer developed. What is that?
it's a satellite city.
Satellite city. To creating a map for NIUI, we also work with National Institute of Urban Affairs, where they want a hypothetical city. Sometimes it's easy to create a hypothetical city which talks about the initiatives which NIUA, National Institute of Urban Affairs, is doing. So to create a hypothesis of a city with the initiatives which they, it also takes different skill set. So that also we've been doing with NIUA. I think we've made 2 cities with NIUA. We also have been working with Alliance Francaise, like all the, I would say, all the cultural centers, but a lot with the French government where they have been using our method to talk about the Indian and French collaboration. We have been working with them for the past 4 to 5 years. Our method is used to take it beyond social media and make it more research oriented. Collaborating with somebody, we always have a lot of research, or we sometimes go on site and do research, and or sometimes there's a lot of research or data available. So this is one of those methods we have been doing for the past 6, 7 years. The other is doing a workshop based graphic novels. So these are with colleges or organizations who invite students to be part of this workshop, where we go with them on the site. Like the Jaisalmer one is one of those examples, where we have been going with students on site and trying to find stories about whatever topic there is for the workshop. Like if it is trying to understand the water techniques, how they save water, to how they climatology, traditional, modern, etc. We also do these intense research-based workshops where the end product is a small graphic novel or a small booklet. They want to add more about the workshop which we do. So, I mean, if you want to add to the workshop part.
Yeah, I think, every year, because like Anuj said, that we don't have a case study and it's also new for us. We're not traditionally trained. We don't have a degree in comic making, like graphic design or whatever. We have a degree in architecture and for human architecture and urban design. So we're really using those skills, but at the same time also educating ourselves each year so that we become better at our skill. Then of course we find those areas where we can practically and financially use them, because it's also sort of all the business models that are there for us, they come out of the fact that we want to tell stories about what issues women face when it comes to transport in big cities, inclusivity, climate change, studying water systems, workshops, all of that. It comes from the fact that we want to tell stories about cities. And all these opportunities come from that idea. When it comes to these workshops that we do, sometimes it's about teaching participants that they can be architecture students. Mostly they are architecture students. Sometimes it's also going there as an expert to see the city in a very different way. For example, there is these workshops that we do. It's an Indo-French collaboration where there are colleges from India and from France, and they usually study an Indian city, but we also did Dhaka in Bangladesh, where students do typical urban design study and they present their work through drawings, etc. But then we go as experts and study the same area, the same sites, but we tell stories and the same data through a comic. And usually the final exhibition is open to public, common people, and they come from everywhere to see the work. What we've learned is that it works as a catalyst and a precursor for people to understand the complexity, and they can understand those drawings better. Not that those drawings are not important, but sometimes it can get too heavy for them. The same is for reports that come out on
Got it.
on 15-minute city, for example, climate change,
Child
etc.
friendly city.
Child-friendly cities. But sometimes it can be too difficult, and at least in India, a common person does not have time
No.
or the
Like
mental capacity to. For example, I would imagine my parents who don't even know what an architect does. It's difficult for them. How can we explain it to our parents? We are still learning. We are also evolving each year in terms of a skill and in terms of learning the skill of storytelling and simplifying complex things.
That's actually quite fascinating for me to understand because, if someone says that I'm a comic artist, okay, now what will you do? You have been working in this for almost, say, 10 years now. How do you think people receive comics? Because these creative things are not taken seriously in our country. And I remember, Anas, you were talking about in our interview that it's not very well received within the architecture community also.
Yeah, there are two types of people in every profession. One who is struggling and one who is exploiting.
Exploiting.
There are only two people
Yeah.
who are struggling, that which is a bigger portion.
Hmm.
There is a smaller portion are doing good, but most of them are in a better position, so they can maybe exploit. We don't have any funding or any person telling us what to do, or we are not backed by anybody. With all of us is individual thoughts and individual ideas, which we want to promote as much as possible.
Hmm.
Mostly catering to the 80, 90, 95% of the people who are struggling. They can be a student or a fresh graduate who is not getting a job or not understanding what they want to do with their life.
Hmm.
So our work is more associated to that, which is like a very big audience.
Yeah.
And the other audience, which are mostly the people who are the creme de la creme, and
Yeah,
they
they're
are
on the top of the pyramid.
they're on the top of the pyramid.
Yeah.
So it hurts. That community gets hurt because we are trying to maybe expose
Or question.
or question.
the-
You're not name dropping, so why?
We are not name dropping.
Oh yeah, I'm saying that you are not naming anyone, right? Or you're not.
No, no.
Yeah, but
emotional. But then why?
sometimes it's a little obvious, and if you are a part of that, you know what you're doing.
चोर की ताड़ी में तिनका टाइम कुछ वैसा. Yeah.
I'm looking
Yeah,
at
yeah, yeah.
people we are working for, and we believe that our work actually gives power to the student, to the community who is actually.
What do the students respond?
Yes, that's the thing, that it's for them. All the comics is to
Power.
empower and give them the strength to question and challenge the authorities and the status quo.
In fact, somebody commented that this is into negatives. The approach is that if we don't talk about what is like, everybody's giving a very pretty picture about architecture. The colleges, that you will have this, you will have a job, etc. But if we say that, okay, there is also this side to it. So
Yeah.
be aware of this might happen. Our idea is always to make them do everything good and bad. Of course, there is good also and there is bad also. But the problem with the internet is that the negative gets more popular.
Yeah. We got it.
It's trying to show the reality.
Yeah.
It's trying to show them that be aware of all
And
of this.
it's I mean, most of it we try to keep open ended so that it doesn't make the decision for them. We leave it open ended so they can reflect, think, and question, they can find the answers for themselves. Maybe it's not true, and you don't have to believe our comments. So, yeah, that's the idea.
Everyone is aware of the problems in the industry, right? Our industry do have a lot of issues, right?
Again, industry does, I think.
Every industry does, but since we all are architects here, I understand you are talking about it and you are pinpointing things that this is wrong. This is wrong. You are not even saying that this needs to be changed. You're just saying that this is a problem.
They can decide on their own whether it's good or bad.
Putting more facts.
You can't change the world sometimes. You can just change a few things for yourself. For example, I mean, even the fact, this whole debate about unpaid internship, right? I mean, you cannot go out and, catch every architect who's not paying their interns. But you can become an architect who doesn't do that, and creates a system which people can look up to, and have a healthy office atmosphere. And that's possible. It's not that it's not possible. It's been propagated enough that cycle carries on that no, this is how it is and it has to be like that. There are other issues also that it's not regulated enough, the profession, and there's nobody to actually. So you have to do it
And where you guys are coming from. So talking about business a little bit more, how have you structured your business model? So basically, you talked about what kind of work you are doing in the starting. Where does the revenue come from? How do you guys plan your work?
I think it's really like putting your
Like
eggs in different baskets.
So we
Yeah.
have different.
We have identified that we
Interesting.
want to work,
Yeah.
in those areas, and we are interested and want to learn.
Yeah.
I think happened with us. We thought about something, or we
Put a comic on,
Yeah,
or put a
maybe.
comic on
Yeah.
topic, and the project comes to us. It's always been that. And I think it's the
Yeah,
different
it's-
sectors, if you want to be like, so one is social media, which is basically the influence collaboration through social media about any product or a competition or anything which will help the architecture community is something which we always
And
focus.
does that generate revenue for you?
Yeah, it is a
Yeah.
collaborative. It cannot
Yeah.
be free. I mean, people come with that idea, but we only take paid collaborations. We scrutinize the product or competition before saying yes. Social media has always been a place where we collaborate with in number of.
Got it.
And we have collaborations outside social media, mostly research-based collaborations through NGOs or corporates. A lot of them are corporates, government organizations who want to use our method to communicate through print because they feel that print is something they can distribute.
These are usually very slow projects.
Yeah.
Some of them can take a year. Over the past years, those are the ones we are also focusing on. I think our energies have also focused on those kind of collaborations and projects. Other than that, we also workshops because we enjoy doing that. Like working with architecture students, design students, even kids, and teach the skill of storytelling and questioning and critical thinking. So we also do workshops. And again, I think it's important that, I mean, not that a college teaches us, but we know that if we want to do this business, even of education, that it's formulated. It's not just a random email with details. It's a proper sort of document. This is the workshop and this is the remuneration, etc.
Sometimes it's just so detailed. The more terms and conditions you lay out, then they try to not associate because that means that they wanted to do something or not. The more clear we are, we then see a very direct answer, yes or no, which is for us. The documents we prepare are sometimes too much because we want to safeguard ourselves. All studio, we don't want to get into any legal hassle. So you either say yes or you agree to everything. That's it.
We also do this exercise of preparing our own documents. We also meet our lawyer. Thankfully, we are a friend.
Yeah.
So they also help us with intellectual property, all of that. So we also see that we are educated in that part because, sometimes when you're doing a creative business, you don't want to focus on, you feel like, oh, I don't want to, look at this part. But I think you should because then you are aware about things and you safeguard yourself, basically. Whether it is from time getting extended
Or copyright issues. Sometimes they feel that if we make a comic for them on social media, they can use it to print and sell. The
So-
contract ends at social media posting it. So sometimes they're also like, oh, we want to use it. So if you want to use it, then you have to pay the IP cost sharing.
Right.
Maybe
Yeah.
50%. So again, all these
Which
made
I
us
would say is, I mean, I don't know if there is a lot of awareness about that in India, because I mean, I don't know. For example, I have not learned any of that, or maybe I didn't pay attention in the professional practice class. So I don't know if they, or maybe it's very boring. But I think that's a very important aspect of a business where y- you actually earn, you know, and you're also safeguarding yourself,
Hmm.
because
Yeah,
we are in.
So which one of these four? Okay, so social media, you said, NGOs, like collaboration with NGOs and workshops. These three. Which one is your favorite?
Yeah.
I mean, every aspect has a beauty. Online is also beautiful, but it can have a lot of
I would
pressure.
also say that there are, because one is where we do graphic design consultancy. Illustration part is helpful because then we get to do maps. Something that we find very, very interesting because
The architect's illustration
yeah,
can help a lot in maps, and
yeah,
the clients find potential in the maps which we have created. Graphic
yeah.
design is also the fourth.
The fifth is the projects that we create by our own.
I think that's the most interesting one, the fifth one, because these are something which we create. We were walking in Chandigarh. We wanted to go somewhere to eat. So we thought, let's walk and we'll have an appetite once we walk, right?
Hmm.
But it was around 45 minutes walk. So then we thought, let's take a different route through the parks and try to take a different route. We walked and thought, oh, wow, this was a better route. Like, make a story out of it, like a graphic novel on ability. Try to brand it like walk to eat. If people want to eat in a city as a tourist,
Wow.
you can walk to that place and come back, and you can also see the city.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's something which we're working on, and it's an in-house project. You can say it's an in-house book which we want to take time and the best.
Wow.
There is no restriction. The fifth one is the most interesting because it is eventually it will be a book which we will be selling, of course.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
when
Yeah.
it is very,
Yeah. It
very
will take time.
has to take.
Which of these areas is the most revenue yielding?
I would say
collaboration.
collaborations. I would say it's
So collaborations, you mean like the social media ones?
both of them.
And
I
the
mean,
research
if
based.
I keep it in the same family, one of them is through social media, one of them is through print, or I mean, sometimes even that is, you know, through social media or like open source graphic novels, etc. So yeah, they're part of the same family.
And I think we collaborate with like-minded institutes and like-minded topics. So we cannot one day talk about
Yeah, obviously.
politics.
But in a subtle way.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
do that.
some what concerns cities and
The systems which are there.
the built environment.
These are topics which we are very excited to talk about. So
Hmm.
that idea of collaborating and working on topic with getting money is like it's a byproduct. The money, and because it's a niche, there are not many people doing it in India. Maybe outside there.
Hmm.
So automatically it becomes a niche and they want it. So they are ready to pay. So it's a win-win situation. We want to work on these topics and we are good at it. I proudly say that we can take any topic about a city, convert into a popular story, which people can easily understand. There are of course ups and downs, but it's a very smooth and a very exciting journey with the remuneration which we get. That's why the collaboration part becomes, because the collaboration has come from somebody who wants to work with us and they feel that we are one of those few people who can do this job correctly. So the
But-
niche work.
But this is not something that you reach out, right? They are the ones. So basically, you have built a name now, right? And they see your work and then they reach out to you. But what if someone wants to start early, right? And they don't have, 6 years or 5 years to establish themselves first, and yet they want to, start earning a little bit. So, what would you suggest there?
It's always been that we will work on those things which will take time.
Yeah.
But to, like, I'm talking about initial days where we
Yeah.
do something which will take care of our bread and butter. There are two aspects when we start. Once 50% is something which you really want to work on.
Hmm.
One will make to survive
Yes.
that, have something on your plate which will make that dream.
Hmm.
Okay. When people start earning and then start forgetting about the dream, this becomes bigger and eventually that 50% of dream becomes
That is
zero. So that is the most tricky part, where you always start with 2 feet on two different places, right? Your dream and the something to survive.
Hmm.
Your dream needs that money to
Hmm.
grow.
Yeah.
But you have to decide, do you want to go on this side or that side? We always started with fueling that dream. We did a lot of work which gave us money, which was not at all related to Levertis,
Yeah.
making some graphics for some company, because we wanted to fuel that idea.
Hmm.
But it can also become lucrative because you start earning in that. It's okay, I'm earning out of here, so I don't
And forget
your dream which you have. You either teach to take bread and butter or you do some work without thinking much about your ethos. You just do it because you want to fuel your dream. It's always that. And I think most people do that because they want to fuel dream.
Hmm.
But when you start earning more out of other sector, people start to feel comfortable and say, "Oh, I think I will start with this part and I want to earn. It's okay, I don't follow that."
And I think one more privilege that we have with our work is that we can do it from anywhere. We do it from a small city specifically because we don't want to pay a lot for electricity or all these small things that can become a lot when you're running. So we want to keep it lean. We want to keep it small so that it it is easier for us to survive and do it.
You are based in Nasik.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's also sort of a idea which we want to give to the world, that you can follow your dreams and do global work from anywhere in the world.
Hmm.
Initially, when we did not show our faces because we like sometimes are shy, so people used to ask us that, "Are you guys from Europe?" Initially we thought, "Oh,
That's
it's
interesting. Yeah.
that's good," but then we are like, "Is India so bad at art, creativity that people have to
I know
think that?"
it's not a common norm. That's why all these questions.
Even in India, for that matter, people, it's very interesting. First is Europe.
Then we say we are from India.
Then it's either Bangalore, which is
Yeah.
very interesting. I mean, think Bombay, which is, I think it's fair because Mumbai, I mean, it's so commercial,
Yeah.
it's so fast. Yeah. Bangalore, Mumbai,
That's it.
yeah, that's it.
We are not worried about it, and people should not judge based on which city. We feel that we've come from a beautiful city. I'm from Nasik, she's from Kota. Both cities are two-tier cities with very good opportunities in a way, which takes care of our mental health to all the other
Yeah.
things which I mentioned about
Being
cost,
slow, yeah.
being slow, which is very important for us. We
It
don't-
allows us to be slow and really, function in a way that we want, the pace that we want.
So I think this really helps us to actually be better rather than eventually fantasizing that we have to be in a place like Mumbai, Pune, Bangalore, that's it. Rather than we are thinking that we should move away from the cities. We are spending time with our work. We want to go away from the city. Like Sam mentioned, the story as powerful which can connect with everybody in the world
Hmm.
at anywhere, like even in an airport. So
Hmm.
when you're at the airport, it's the best because we see a lot of people with different notions, observations, behavioral patterns to everything.
Hmm.
I think we are in a way very comfortable with I mean our stories mostly I think comes from observation, and so for that you have to walk and be in that space.
Hmm.
That also helps quite a lot.
But I recently heard that you have ventured into stand-up comedy, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah,
I think we believe that. People have said that.
because we've all talks in conferences, right? They are too heavy sometimes. Nobody's working on the presentation part of it, verbal and visual. Very few. I mean, we have maybe seen maybe 1 out of 100 who have really, and that's the point, right? It's not only showing your work when we go to a conference. It's also trying to create that atmosphere of the presentation where people have to learn and enjoy it. They cannot just wait for the presentation to get over and wait for the evening parties, right?
Our presentation is always after that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. They know
and
that
if any conference people are listening to this, you can have a presentation.
after
I think both of us, at least I am much more introvert. He is. It is easier for us to talk about our
True.
work and then
Exactly.
make people laugh
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we know our work and then we're able to talk about it. So yeah, and it's always nice to be able to do that because it's very difficult to make people laugh. If you can do that, they have to look at 9 serious presentations and
One fun.
one just very fun, very light ways to look at things.
It's like an
It's-
animated PPT stand-up.
Yeah.
We want to see how we can get that
That-
into
Right.
AI, where it also becomes independent of being part of some event or some conference. Not everybody has access to all these big events, especially unless it's in a college. We are still experimenting.
It has
Yeah.
potential. We are working on it. So I mentioned that we want to make it into our own entity where we go to cities and perform, like the architecture fraternity to come and attend the talk. But yeah, it's still something we want to, because it's been 8-9 years of talking about our work through humor.
Like last 2 years, we also have projects outside India because of which we're also able to travel to different countries. So we do this thing where we just put out a message on the internet that we are in this country or in this city, and if there's anybody who would like to have a workshop or a talk,
Yeah.
so it's a nice way to see that if people who are from a different context relate, which they do, because the problems are the same of marketing.
Yeah.
Oh, we've done it in New Delft, we did it in Paris, in Brussels. So it was very interesting to, find this niche community everywhere.
Everywhere. In fact, now in Dubai
Yeah.
and Malaysia, we are traveling to Dubai in May, Malaysia, July. So, which also, I mean, we've always had people related to our work from all around the world, because our percentage of followers is also 60% outside India and 40% India. But slowly people are understanding the seriousness of it, and then we are being invited to all these events, talks, workshops. And it's good, it's nice. That's why we like, stand-up is something. Stand-up is always there. If somebody invites us for a talk, it automatically becomes.
Yeah.
We also want to brand it and make it a component because we believe in it.
Yeah. And I think it's very refreshing. I think you should do orientation sessions at colleges.
Interesting because we developed a game
Yeah.
for that workshop. So it's a proper game that you can play. And we've created these cards of different characters from different timelines. It's very interesting. We did it quite a lot after COVID.
Yeah.
Mm.
This part is very good for us because it's the first year, the first day or the first week of shoot. They are just very pure, right? And the best work which we have gotten from the students is the orientation programs which we have done.
Yeah, even sometimes when we have vertical studios and we have a first year student who's part of a group, they always have very refreshing,
Yeah.
very, very fresh, not sort of corrupted by
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, it's really interesting to work with
First year.
Josie's.
Or I would say 1 old student.
Yeah.
Sometimes 1 day old also. They've just entered college and then they
Yeah.
see us, and it's always nice to see
Yeah.
first year
Yeah.
batch. Not that we discuss the other batches, but like I mentioned, the purity and the
Yeah.
good to work with.
So I just have one last question for you guys before we close this. What suggestions would you give to a young grad looking to diversify in architecture?
I think unsolicited advice is, so advices that I've been given, I didn't listen. I think I can just talk about what worked for me is that I think a very harmful thing that my parents did early on is that they said, question everything. Since then, I've been questioning everything that is around. Sometimes it can be harmful because you also have to find answers. But sometimes. And when I say everything, I mean literally everything that's happening around us. Like society or just the way world works, that profession, your professors, your everything. It can sometimes get difficult, but sometimes when you get answers, like for me, I can channelize it my work and I'm able to find answers through my work.
Yeah.
And then it blossoms in a way that it comes out as a comic that I can share with the world. People either relate or they don't. That's fine. But for me, it works because I question even my education and the fact that am I supposed to work as an architect after practicing architecture is also why I can do what I do today. Making comics satisfies the child inside me, which learned everything about the world through comics.
Yeah.
And at the same time, being mature and understanding the complexities of the world and then being able to put them out
Through art.
So yeah, questioning is something that has helped me. Question everything. Yes. And I think I'm too young to give advice from somebody who's like, I just want to into somebody who's maybe old because I think they're wise.
No, I think that's the problem, right? I mean, we feel that only old people give good advices. But
Or
that,
I think you should listen to advice from people who can frame it really well, who have a
Yeah.
good command.
yeah.
Like I listen to Shashi Tharoor.
Yes.
You-
Otherwise, it's all experiences which we have, right? Architecture already is so diverse.
Hmm.
So the college, if you look at the 5 years, is already so diverse that you can easily find many things to do in 5 years.
Hmm.
But we are so trained and forced to look at one direction. That is the problem of the management. I would not say maybe the faculty, because the management has a certain agenda to have this much admission, etc. The parents should not question that my daughter was doing this, why is she gone there? So there's a lot of pressure on the management, which eventually trickles down to the faculties and then students. But if you look at the course, if the student individually looks at the course,
It's a
so
very, yeah.
it's so diverse that you can easily find what you want to do. So 5 years can be a very good experimentation ground for you. It can even be after graduation. There might be people who are in the final year and listening, and then they're like, oh, so I don't have any chance. No, you still have. Also, I think explored after we graduated. So it's always an experimentation ground. You always have to judge between how much time you give for that experimentation and how you also take care of your bread and butter.
Hmm.
Because it is always extremes. Humans always thinks in extremities.
Yeah.
I will leave everything and I will do this. Or no, it's too risky. I will stick to my comfort zone.
Hmm.
So the balance which we can create, even in college or after graduating, is something graduates or young students have to look in. It's always that balance. How smart are you that you take care of your college expectations, but also find time to experiment. You cannot just only experiment and not follow the college pattern system.
Correct. Yeah.
And at the same time, you cannot completely trust them because they have a different agenda.
Yeah.
You can fulfill their requirements smartly and you can work on your experimentation. You
Yeah.
don't have to follow them because they have a different agenda and
Hmm.
they don't fit in that. Very
Correct.
few colleges have a very open ground.
Yeah.
Don't trust your experimentation too much, and at the same time, don't trust the college.
Got it. Got it.
Be smart enough that you follow and just give them what they want and spend time experimenting more and more.
I think both of your advices are on the same track, right? So question everything and find your way.
Yeah.
I think we can wrap it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. I enjoyed the session. It was a lovely session.
It's like,
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you found Converse valuable, you can subscribe to the podcast on YouTube and Spotify. You can find all past episodes and know more about us on Insight.ai. See you in the next episode.